Good evening. I welcome you to 2019 again. This is the second week of the year. We thank you for joining us here at Campfire Talk Show, Uganda Crossroads. The year started well, and to some other people, it's not fair to them. When you look at the politics of Uganda, the politics of the neighboring countries, complaints are still coming up, especially when you look at what happened in Rwanda, in DRC Congo. When you come back to Uganda, we have Bank of Uganda, issues with Kosasi. The Kosasi saga itself within the parliament is also brings so much of the news lately in the beginning of this year. So we expect a lot in 2019. But of course, since we've just concluded the second week of 2019, there have been so many developing stories that we want to break out today again. We are lucky that now almost all the panelists are back. Hilary Taylor is back. Sarah Joy is back. And I'm also here. So we want to thank you so much for joining us every Saturday at this hour as we discuss the issues that are going on back in Uganda. But first, let me thank and also appreciate what Dennis Onyango did for Uganda. He represented Uganda as a country and, of course, Africa at large. So we want to appreciate and recommend whatever he did and say thank you, Dennis Onyango. Coming back, guys, I want to thank you for joining me again today. Hilary, last time we missed you, I was here with Sarah, but it's nice to see you again. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year too.
Sarah, it's nice also to see you again. I wish to say Happy New Year again, but Happy New Year too. I already said that last time, so it's always good to say it again. Hilary, if I start with you, the year started so good. We started with an opening song from the man who is supported by many Ugandans and one who has been also recommended by the foreignpolicy.com as one of the people who are going to shape the future of 2019. That is Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi. Now, as the year was ending, 2018, and as we are opening up 2019, he released the song, which is now actually the song of, the year in terms of politics, Tuliyambale Ngule. Now, that is a song that has left so many questions, so many debates on how great it is politically, economically, and of course on the religious factor. We have pastors like Pastor Sempa coming out to say, hey, you're disturbing the rules of the church. So apart from that, we also saw Serada, the leader of the born-again fraternity in Uganda, also coming up to stand against it. And we've seen other pastors who have come up to support the cause and other religious factions. So I want to start with you, Hilary. What would be your take? And I'm going to bring out some facts about the church and music in regards to politics and how church looks at music. The secular musicians like Bobby Wine, like the Hilary Chiaga, Dr. Hudaman, and the others.
Yes.
So let me start with you. What do you think about the complaints that are going on with Nguli?
Well, first of all, we have to say that Pastor Sempa is false in whatever perspective is trying to look at this song. But before I go to that, let me just say briefly something about what's happening in our country. Because you've said that the year started so well, But in our family, in my family, my elder brother is called Oscar Ranzo,
Right.
and he writes, he's a good writer. He writes adults books and also children's books. He was here at the University of Iowa in the US, and then he went back. So he was working with different organizations. He had a book called Bobby and Barbie. So it was a book that was talking about, you know, stories for children in order to fight illiteracy in our country. But it's so surprising that the New Vision group, because they were publishing this book every Sunday in New Vision, and the New Vision group has said that they won't renew his contract simply because of the title Bobby and Barbie. So to the New Vision group, they think it's Bobby Wine who is sponsoring his book. But he wrote a book even before Bobby Wine joined the political arena when he was in his musical career. So you see how this government is now trying also to...
I want to take you back.
The fighters. But
I want to take you back to the song.
And I say Ugandans, we have to rise up, and that's why we come and say every now and then Museveni must go, because we can't see such things and keep quiet about it. But back to the question of Pastor Sempa with the song Tulyambale Ngule.
Right.
This song is the anthem of today's young generation, of today's Uganda, because each generation has an anthem that brings about the change that they want. Because if you look at 1986, 1981, when Museveni was going to the bush to fight the government of Obote and the other guys, they were singing "Oh Merida, Merida way, Muzuri sana." So those songs were giving them morale to go and fight. And today in 2019, we have a new anthem that resonates with the challenges, with the problems we are facing in our country. Because the song Tulyambale Ngule is talking about, the human rights abuses that we're facing in our country. So if the song is talking about corruption, something about, having health services that cater for each and every person in hospitals or health centers, threes or hospitals, and the pastor, the man of God, comes out to say that this song is fighting the church, then there is something wrong.
Let me stop you from there.
I want to remind Pastor Sempa that if you look at US where we are today, if you look at their history, the likes of Martin Luther King Jr., he was spreading the word of God, but he came out and fought for the truth of the people. He was fighting for civil rights. So these are the people who are fighting for the good cause.
Let me stop you from there.
If you go to South Africa and this religious leader called Desmond Tutu, he came out and fought against apartheid policy. But today we have religious leaders like Pastor Sempa, and is so silent about the abuse of human rights, about the raping of our mothers, about the raping of young girls, and is very comfortable in his church. Then there is a problem with the church.
Thank you. I can't go further. Let me start with Joy too. What's your view on that song? And I would like to post something before I actually start commenting about it. If we go back in 2014, we had a saga of a musician using church attires during his show. Now, let me be clear here. In 2014, according to Daily Monitor, the church under Judy Mbabali, who was by then, I don't know whether up to today, still the legal advisor or their lawyer as a church, came out and say that the matter rose after Dr. Hildeman performed in Bishop's Cassock at one of his recent concerts. And the fact is, as for the deliberate act of abuse, and this is for the sacred self-made, as Mr. Chagihirari, also known as Dr. Hildeman, has displayed of recent, which has hurt the feelings of many Catholics within Uganda and beyond, we demanded that he makes a public apology on all channels of TVs present in the country, the radio and the print media. Read in part later, dated June 2014. That was according to Judy Mbabali. So the reality is, Hildeman disrespected the church by putting on a bishop's cassock while performing his shows. And Hildeman said that, no, the song I performed when I was singing religious songs, not the secular songs. So let's just from there.
If you say, from the statement you read, the thing I picked out, you said the religious leaders in Uganda use their emotions, felt.
Yeah, their feelings, right.
Their feelings were hurt.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I want to pick out. It looks like religious leaders in Uganda, everything is about emotions. We've seen movies. Why haven't they complained? You saw the movie by, I'm forgetting the name. The movie went so viral. It was directed by, I'm forgetting the guy. It was about Jesus.
Christ of Passion?
Exactly, Christ of Passion. Why didn't they complain about it? These were actors.
Passion of Christ.
Exactly, Passion of Christ. These were actors putting themselves in the shoes of Jesus. They are not Jesus. Why haven't they complained? You've seen all movies that have been acted where people are putting on robes of popes, or religious leaders, and the church did not start from Uganda. Why isn't the church in America or the church in Rome complaining? These are movies, and they make a lot of money, even while wearing all these attires. They do not. And movie sets, we've seen movie sets where people are wearing FBI uniform, US Army uniforms, but how come these organizations don't come out to complain? Emotions. Because I think one thing I've seen with the church in Uganda, they focus on irrelevant small issues and fail to look at what are the bigger issues. Taking you back to Liamba Lengule, I've been trying to, the whole week, Pastor Sempa has been in the media trying to explain, for him his argument is Bobi Wine disrespected the song because it talks of the crown. In fact, for him his issue is the crown. He says the original song talks about the crown in heaven. But where is the heaven? If you can't live heaven on earth, one of the things, if you read the Bible, complaining is a sin. Poor people die complaining. There is no poor person who is going to go to heaven. Have you ever visited a poor person on their deathbed? They don't make wills. A poor person doesn't make a will. They don't want to die. They have nothing. They have accomplished nothing. So poor people don't want to die. Poor people die complaining. Have you ever been to a deathbed of a poor person and a rich person? A rich person is ready to go. In fact, he will tell his family, I'm ready. And the family comes to the terms that, yes, he's ready. Poor people don't want to die. So what heaven is he talking about? If people are living in situations where there are no drugs, there is corruption, there are no jobs, what heaven are you talking about? If I cannot live heaven on earth, what heaven are you talking about? If I cannot live heaven in a place where I know, if I cannot enjoy the resources of my country, what heaven are you talking about? And again, does God talk to Sempa? Why doesn't he record him and gives us a recording? You know, some of the things people, like, I expected Sempa as an educated person. I know I think he has a PhD, to even look beyond, because first of all, none of them owns the song.
Does he have a right to go and show Bobi Wine?
He doesn't have a right, because first of all, no one owns the song. The song was, from the information I have gathered, the song was written by some gentleman. He was white in the 70s. He died a long time ago. Also, the Christian church in Uganda repeated something that did not belong to them. And if it was to follow the copyright of who created the song, it has been, copyright loses. Like something, even if it's copyrighted, after 50 years, the copyright ceases to hold. So right now, Bobi Wine, he can even copyright that song because no one owns it. But on top of that, the most important thing is the pastors failed to look at the message in what Bobi Wine is saying. There is no pastor is disputing whatever Bobi Wine said as wrong. They know it is entirely right. People have this corruption, there is double taxation, there are no drugs, women are dying while giving birth, there is no, everything he talked about in the song is really right. And the part of Pastor Bogembe where he says, or people don't fight, it is because you've seen the divisions. The young people support NRM, the young people support the opposition, sometimes bickering on social media. And I was so disappointed in Bugembe when he came out to apologize. You know, I'm like, because he's I know people say he got a lot of pressure, but I do not think Bugembe went in to sing a chorus, a song he did not go to sing a verse in a song he didn't know the chorus. No. He knew very well.
Let me take you back. The reason why I've centered on Hildemani's case. Let me read you what lawyer Judy Mbabali then said. He said, in the first place, his action is an offense and breaches the law that prohibits people from putting on uniforms and the attire which they are not supposed to, such as army and police uniforms, right? And he was accused because he put on a bishop's what? Cassock. Does that make him, or did it bring out the issue of him disrespecting the church by putting on something which is not actually legally?
I have asked you, we've seen movies where people wear all these robes, even from the Pope, the garment of the Pope.
Then why did the Catholic Church
why isn't the Catholic Church worldwide? Why is it banned?
Just for information, like last year, Rihanna dressed like a Pope.
Exactly. Why isn't the Catholic Church? Because this is a character. People are, that's why you say religious leaders in Uganda are too emotional over non-issues. That's what I'm trying to say. If the Catholic Church worldwide has not banned movies being done for example, did you see there's a movie that was done by Hoopy?
Yeah.
The Sister Act?
Yes, yeah, Sister Act.
This movie, the entire costumes that were used in this movie were the same.
Like nuns.
Yeah, exactly. They were wearing like nuns. But you saw what was happening in the movie. You know, if the Catholic Church International has not come out even to condemn, because they will be suing these movie franchises for using these costumes. Yeah.
So
what I'm drawing at,
right.
The church in Uganda is showing so much emotion on issues that are useless. They have failed to, because I would say your argument holds water if they were balanced the issues. If let Sempa come out and say, yes, Bobby Wine, the message in the song is really good. It speaks of the things happening in Uganda, and then give your other argument that is opposing whatever he did. If you cannot come out to even appreciate the message that is really, these are things happening in Uganda, and then you're busy focusing and telling people, oh, the crown, oh, he misused the crown we mean here is the crown in heaven. Has he been to heaven? Do you have anyone in your family that has been to heaven and came back and told you how it is like? If you can't live heaven on earth, which heaven are you going to live? It is all here.
Let me first ask my producer to play for me that song, because I want to start from there, and then I bring the breaking news that has just happened today. Let me ask the producer to first play me Ngule, bring the breaking news, and then we'll start from there. Thank you.
Never again shall it be that this beautiful nation will again experience the oppression of one by another and bear the indignity of being the skunk of the world. Yaga 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 yaga.
buloze nga buwedde tuliyambale ngule n'enguzi nga ewedde tuliyambale ngule n'ekibataka nga kiwedde tuliyambale ngule tulivimba mu Uganda empya siyagasi nga wedde tuliyambale wannatemalira nga buwedde tuliyambale ngule obukenuzi nga bugeze tuliyambale tulivimba mu Uganda empya tuliyambala tufugisa mundu nsensubize mukwanga ey'amazima n'owekanya nsensubize tuliyumirwa Uganda.
All right, I want to thank you for being part of our program, Uganda Crossroads, and we thank you for sharing, liking, and please keep on commenting, send in your comments, keep on sharing with friends, invite as many people as you can so that they can enjoy the show just as you are doing. We want to thank you for always being part of our programs that we have here at Campfire TV, Life MTV, and Campfire Talk Show. Again, my name's David Wuro. Let me first correct this. Somebody said they spelled my name wrongly, but it's not L, it's R. That's what it is. I want to thank you for raising that up. The breaking news that has just come in right now is that Senior Superintendent of Police Emilian Kaima has been fired by police as Police Public Relations Officer. He has now been moved to another office as a political commissar. Now, that is very important to us today because recently, guys, we do remember Emilian Kaima at one time came out and said that people in the diaspora who speak against the government, they will be handled by the police machine or the police force. Now, before we go on with the Tuliyambale Ngule, I want us to break just a little bit about Emilian Kaima's firing.
Yes, this is Chisanja, hakuna mchezo. So everyone should know that if you're used by this dictator, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, just know that you're not going to stay in your position permanently. Time is going to come and they're going to move you to another position. So this is a lesson to all those who are oppressing the Ugandans in the Uganda police, in the army, or in the any government agents, that your time is coming. And we are seeing more of these reshuffles. So today you've seen reshuffles in the Uganda police. The government of Uganda, the executive, is also going to have more than 2 reshuffles this year. Just watch out and see. So Emilian Kaima was so arrogant at times. I could see him also talking nonsense about Bobi Wine, how Bobi Wine should differentiate himself from Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, which is impossible practically because this is the same person. He thought that he owns Uganda. He intimidated us Ugandans for coming out and speak up against the atrocities that are committed to Ugandans. And we told him, Emilian Kaima, I remember very well when we went to a Free Bobi Wine demonstration in Waltham. We were very vocal about it. We warned him and told him that today you're being used by the government of Mr. Museveni, but tomorrow they're going to move you out of this office. And today it has come to a reality. They've moved him, they've demoted him. That's a demotion. So it tells you something strong about Mr. Museveni. He likes manipulating people, then he demotes them. This is a strong message also that should go to the spokesperson of the Uganda government, Ofono Opondo, that today you're even threatening your family, arresting your own brother because he supports the ideologies of the People Power movement, because you want to protect your job as the spokesperson of the government. But tomorrow, the government of Mr. Museveni is going to remove you from that position. It will go to the spokesperson of the Uganda People's Defense Force. You are torturing people, but trust me, what has happened to Emilian Kaima today is coming to each and every security organization? Or
No, I want to first go, before I go to Sarah, I want to go back to the people who are watching us live on Facebook, that this is a very important time for you to tell us what you think about the filing of Emilian Kaima. What do you think? Is it a good move by government, or it's one of the worst decisions that it has ever made? We know that Emilian Kaima has defended the police system. He has defended the government over so many cases, especially against Bobi Wine's struggle. So tell us what you think about his filing. Is it a good cause for the government, or it's a good cause for the people opposing the government? Now, Sarah, I want to come to you. Is it victory for people who did not like Emilian Kaima, or it's a disgrace to the government?
It could be, people who didn't like him, it could be a victory to them. But at the same time, I'm looking at, I don't know so much about Enanga, the one that has replaced him.
Right.
But it could be exactly the same as Emiliano. But he was, as a police spokesperson, you need, I don't know whether these guys, they choose people who have some background in communication, or, yeah, that have studied communication, because as a good, they should be getting people who have a communication background in order. When you're speaking for the police does not work for government. The police works for the people. So when you're choosing someone to speak for government, for the police, and then you see they are so inclined for speaking for NRM more than the government, and so many things that they do. Because I expect them, I expect them in certain situations, as a police spokesperson, you should be able to batter them. Just sugarcoat them, and don't make yourself look like you're working under the machinery of the NRM. So he's been, and if I'm to name some of the spokespeople in police I've been following, he's been one of the worst. He has failed to do his job, because his job was to communicate and inform the public about the works of the police. Look at him, when I saw him one time on a debate on BBS, and he could not hand a debate with the promoters of how promoters were being affected. You could see that he was really working under the machinery of the...
Could that be the reason as why he was fired? Because recently we have seen him really meandering around when he's being interviewed by...
Even the one that is coming up is going to do the same, because I guess you have, when you work for the dictatorship, you cease to serve the people, you serve the government, you serve the NRM. So I don't know what anything new that Enanga is going to bring to the table. If definitely, if he's gonna fail to do the work of the NRM, he might even see the doors sooner than Kaima. So I do not know whether the incoming has professionalism in him to differentiate serving the people and serving an individual. But if you cannot differentiate that, then you're gonna have the same thing. But Kaima, sometimes when people are doing public service, they forget, your time is gonna come to an end. So when you stop being the spokesperson of police, exactly outside that office, how is the world looking at you? Or are you, because I saw him, because I saw him threatening Ugandans living abroad, how you're going to arrest them, how they are going to, because they speak against the government. Even you have people here, people speak against governments if they're not doing right. And it doesn't mean you should arrest them. You want us to keep quiet when things are going wrong in a country we all love. We are all, as much as we live abroad, I keep telling people, I live abroad, but I'm affected by the black tax. The problems of Uganda, I traveled with all the problems of Uganda in my family. Someone is sick, they can't be treated in Mulago, they have to go to a private hospital. The first person they call, because they think I'm a bank, is me. They think where we live, there are roads that have money, we just go and pick. All the problems are going to run to you before they think of any other person. Whether it's in the middle of the night, whether at 2 or 3 a.m., someone is going to call you and say this person is sick. So we carry the problems of Uganda. So if you start threatening us because we talk about the issues that are happening in Uganda, I do not want to pay school fees for someone back home. They finish university, and then I still continue to pay their bills, because you educate your brothers and sisters thinking that when they're done with university, maybe they will be able to find a job and also acquire more skills and improve their lives. But you still carry the problems, even after you educate them and finish their degrees. So we cannot keep quiet. We'll keep talking.
All right, thank you.
To add briefly on what Sarah said.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah.
As Ugandans who are watching or who are there, do not get excited about this change that the IGG Mike Ochola has done, because if you look at all the spokespersons of the police we've had, the likes of Idini Senkumbi, the likes of this guy of Mitiana, Kakoza, and the likes of Samoa Nsubuga, you see that they've all been, playing a very big role in abusing the rights of Ugandans. So let's not even celebrate about this thing, because we know very well that Enanga has also been engaged in the acts of violating the rights of the Ugandans. So in this Chisanja Kuna Mchezo, mainly this year, they are going to torture us as people who are opposing the government. They are going to intimidate us. They are going to threaten us. Let's just be ready for whatever is coming, because this is just the beginning. More reshuffles are coming, and more intimidations are coming, more torturings are coming. They are going to, beat you each and every day, but do not give up. Just keep saying Museveni must go all the time, and just say Tuliyambale Ngule, because these are the signs that show you as Ugandans who are losing hope that yes, indeed, we are about to have that crown. And now to go back. I
think we have to put this clear that Enanga has been a spokesperson before, and he really did a good job. The only problem that I would like you guys to tell us, or tell the public that's viewing you right now, is it a fair game for replacing the same person in the same position, or would it be?
You can't say he did a good job. Yet we've seen that we've had a proliferation of abuse of human rights each and every year.
Right.
So if someone, because now Museveni is like that. If you fail to achieve, this is how dictators manipulate people in offices. If you fail to achieve certain targets, then they will demote you. Once you allege or to their promises that yes, I'll do what you want me to do, then they will promote you again. So Enanga, he failed to do what he was supposed to do. He was demoted because, remember very well, of course there is politics in these things, because during Enanga's era as spokesperson of police, we had General Kale Kaihura as the IGG. So right now we have a new IGG being called Ochola. So you never know, because you know that in Uganda it's not on merit basis. No, it's patronage, it's tribalism, it's nepotism. So you never know the politics they're trying to play, because Enanga and Ochola, well, people will say Hillary is trying to be tribalistic, but again, as analysts, we have to look at both sides. So it could be possible that maybe also Ochola is trying to reward his side. Is like, okay, since Kaihura transferred you, I have the powers as the new IGG from the same region to bring you back to this office.
Is Uganda police running out of ideas and running out of new skills? Because we have so many people who are educated who have just joined the police recently, and I think among those there are people who are skilled to be really good public relations officers. So, is it that Uganda police has run out of resources?
As I told you, it's not merit basis. No. You have to be pro-government in order for you to be rewarded. So they are rewarding those who are pro-government. If you are anti-government, anti-ruling party, NRM, there's no way they're going to put in that position.
So do you agree with Hiran when he says that they're always looking at people who are pro-NRM? Because my understanding could be that Mdani Kaima has been working for the government, which of course some people quote it's NRM police, known to the Uganda police. But my observation has been he has been working for the government, and that's his responsibility. Does it mean that his demotion is based on his deviation from what he was supposed to be doing, Sarah?
No, because when you look at his performance, as much as he's been serving the NRM, the role of police is to serve the citizens of the country. But all these guys who come up, they are more, I think, on pressure to please the president. I guess even the reshuffles are done more by the president than the IGP, because he's a very dormant IGP. He's as much as as much as Kayihura also had his shortcomings that were many, you would see him out there being proactive. So what I'm saying is, if the reshuffle can happen, especially for Kayima himself, he was very confused. As much as he was, you would see him, most of his either is on TV or where, and he's more of a government or a movement spokesperson, police spokesperson, than a government or a nation spokesperson. He didn't know even what to say. He wasn't articulate. He would leave. He would not even answer questions properly. He would be on a panel with guys and you see him confused, not prepared. I remember when he was with the promoters promoters, and then he said he didn't come prepared. He didn't know. But if you're called for a TV interview or a show which has music promoters, of which they bought an artist and he did not perform, what do you expect? They will be talking about that. You should use your common sense. So he was, he didn't know much of what to say in his position as a police spokesperson, and most times he did not use his judgment as maybe a skilled communication officer to communicate. So I'm yet to see Enanga how he's going to perform. I will not even give him the kudos. I want to see if he's going to do better, or if he's going to do his role and duty and stay away from the NRM machinery, because all these guys seem to be more interested in keeping their places and please President Museveni alone, and they do not care about Ugandans. That's why you see so many issues coming, and police is involved, and police has been largely involved in brutalizing Ugandans instead of protecting them. So I don't know if he's going to do better, and if he was Enyanga, I don't know if he was there during the time of Kayihura. Yeah. If he was there, there are so many things Kayihura did that were not right. So I've not been really following him so much. Now since he's the new spokesperson, I need to follow him and see if he's going to say anything different, or if he's going to be able to defend the citizens of Uganda, or if he's going to be working for the NRM machinery. We are yet to see. But if he decides to work for the machinery of the NRM, I'll not be surprised. That's what they do, because police has ceased to be an institution that defends Ugandans. It's now an institution that works for President Museveni and his associates.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for people who have just joined us. Again, breaking news, Eminani Kaima, the police spokesperson, the former police spokesperson, has been fired today and replaced by the commissioner of police.
He has been demoted, not fired.
Yes, he has been demoted. Well, you know, as for us in news, we will say he has been fired because we don't see him anymore as a spokesperson. So he has been replaced by Fred Enanga, who will be deputized by Assistant Commissioner of Police, Paulina Mai. Guys, I want to thank you so much for discussing about that. And I thank you people who are watching us live on Facebook and other social media platforms, on all other platforms that where we are right now. We thank you so much. One thing I want to request you to do for me: send us your comments, share and like the page. If you can, go on YouTube. These shows are always uploaded. Subscribe and always keep the bell up so that you can always be notified whenever an upload is done. But I thank you so much for being part of the shows that we always host here at Campfire TV and Life from TV. Guys, coming back to you now. I wanted to go back to Angole's song, but I wouldn't love to go back there because it's a little bit complicated and funny. So I want to go to what happened this week in DRC. There were elections, and you may ask me why, but we have to look into the neighboring countries, what happened. There were elections, and the opposition leader for the first time won the elections. And in a long while, we see somebody becoming a president, not being appointed or through a coup, but being elected.
Yeah.
And then what we see, foreign powers, France and Belgium, are coming out to say, hey, no, there were rigging of votes. Let's start from there. Let me start with Sarah before I come to Harry. Were the elections fair?
I was really happy because you see what happened in Congo. There was so many days of delay of announcing the election results. especially when opposition is contesting with an incumbent by someone who has been selected by the incumbent. So definitely they're going to use all the machinery, the government machinery, to rig an election. But you see the difference in Congo. The religious leader put a lot of pressure on the Electoral Commission to release the results. And I don't know if that can happen in Uganda, because when you're looking at the neighboring countries, you quickly run back to home to see how things run around in Uganda. The religious leaders in Congo did a very fundamental job in making sure that results are released. They put a lot of pressure. And if you saw by last week, again also because America had feared that there would be a lot of already riots and things were happening in different parts of the country by the youth. So America also had already moved in its troops, and they were in Gabon waiting for if there's intensity in the violence, then maybe they will come in. But at the end of the day, having Kabila, who has been in power for a long time, and then choosing someone to succeed him, and people going into an election, because all these dictatorship, what they do, first of all, they own the Electoral Commission. But to see the Electoral Commission coming up and saying that the opposition has won, it is a plus, and it is something to give us hope that as much as there is a section of people who believe in violence, or you cannot take out President Museveni, it has to be the gun. We passed that phase of going back to you don't even have any bushes anymore. So that was, for us, that's something that gives hope to Ugandans that yes, still, you can win an election through a ballot. If you go out and vote in massively in big numbers, there is still hope. Because as much as I usually tell people, if we've had by-elections won by the opposition and the movement has lost, even Museveni can lose. If by every constituency you do not vote him back, he can as well lose. Because Ugandans, now Uganda, we are lucky that we have people have woken up. And the biggest part of the population that is had confused, that's why you see the president is spending a lot of money. I had the promoters who did not, I was really, really annoyed when I saw Benon Chivuka, he's in charge of the organization that takes care of musicians. They went right to and collected 1 billion.
Yeah, I want to stop you from there, Sarah. That's a very interesting topic, but I wanted to bring it later. No, now I want us to first focus on DRC.
Yes.
Hillary, before you go there, I want to read you something here.
Okay.
Sarah's mentioned something about the Catholic Church being really very strong to protect the votes in DRC. But this is the statement from France. In remarks, France Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, I think, if I pronounce the name right, he says the elections were rigged. And in his statement, he says, and I quote, "It really seems that the declared results are not consistent with the true results." That's what he told France News channel. On the face of it, Mr. Fayoul, who was also in opposition, was the leader coming out of these elections. He said again, DR Congo's powerful Catholic Church, which deployed more than 40,000 observers to monitor the elections, knew who had really won the vote with their observation suggesting a win for Fayoul. Now we have to remember that it's Felix Tshisekedi or Felix Tshisekedi who won the elections according to what was declared. Now foreign powers are coming in. Where am I going? Let me first let you say something before I let you well.
Yes, it was 1960 when the Democratic Republic of Congo became independent from their former colonizers, that's France and Belgium. So ever since then, they've never had like a peaceful democratic election being held in their country. The only leader they had, like ever since independence, he was Patrice Lumumba. He's the only person who had, started bringing hope to that country, because you see, Congo is the richest country in the world in terms of natural mineral resources. Today, all the iPhones that we see us holding in our hands, they are made out of the minerals that Congo has, like 60% of them. So Congo is rich, is blessed with lots of mineral resources. And you see, for foreigners to have, for foreign powers to have interest in this country, it tells you a lot of things. One, they're looking at their gold, because Congo has plenty of gold, because you've seen many cases being reported that the United Nations has been caught stealing gold from Congo. Our country, Uganda, has been also sued the UN for stealing gold and also putting fake wars, conflicts in the country, in Congo. And the UN said that Uganda has to pay about 6 to 10 billion, billions to Congo, because
let me take you back in the elections.
We stole gold from there.
Talk about the elections.
I'm coming to that point, and that's when you had people like this Kaindo Tafile. When Mao was asking him about the gold he stole, then he was like, did I steal your father's gold? Because he knew that he stole gold from Congo.
Yeah. So looking into elections, yeah.
Tshisekedi winning the elections, it was a sign of hope to
the Congolese,
the Great Region, the Great Lakes region, and also to Congo as a country, because Congo is neighboring us in the west.
Yep.
So as neighbors, it gives us hope, because when Congo is at conflict, then we are also not at peace as their neighbors. You know very well that we have over 30,000 refugees from Congo because of the instabilities that have been happening. If you look at also our borders in Kasese to Congo, you see that there are very many horrible things that have been happening. The businessmen who have been exporting timber from Congo, importing timber from Congo to Uganda have been suffering. Very many of them have been also ambushed by the rebels in that country. And you also know very well that Joseph Kony, we don't know if he's hiding in Congo forests or is in Central African Republic. So the government is not sure about it. But it gives us hope that Tshisekedi could help to unite that country, because if you go to parts like Kivu, is totally the opposite of Congo Kinshasa.
Right.
You see that there is that unequitable distribution of resources.
Now,
and you see that the natural resources that they are blessed with have been more of a curse than a blessing. And now we see that also the former president of Congo, Joseph Kabila, he wanted someone who would protect his government and also his properties, and also he knew that he has committed lots of human rights atrocities. So he knows that if he gets someone who takes over office, that person should be protecting him from being dragged to the International Criminal Court. And he knows very well that if I get someone to take over my office, I have to ensure that my properties won't be being taken over. Because that guy you're talking about, who was in the third place, who was being supported
who was supported by Kabila.
And
actually, the reality was he was being supported by Joseph Kabila, but he did not score. So the two opposition for this case were Fayul and Felix. Now Felix wins elections, and the West comes in to say that they were rigging of votes, the results were not clear. Yes. What does that tell you?
The international observers, everyone has their own interests. Because if you look at the Commonwealth, they have someone they're scanning. If you look at France, they had someone they're scanning. And also the Catholic Church, they had someone they're scanning. So I don't really trust international observers, because just come back to our elections in Uganda, you see that there were conflicting reports. The European Union gives you a different findings from the elections, and also the African Union is giving something different, and the US gives something different. So at the end of the day, they leave you in the mess. So you're like, who's giving us the right side? But for Congo's case, I believe it's a matter of time, because right now the country is divided. Tshisekedi has won is from the opposition, because Tshisekedi, first of all, it gives us hope that he comes from a party whereby his father was one of the strong opposers of Mobutu Sese
Right.
Zabanga Wakula.
Who was somehow overthrown by President Museveni.
His father was like the vestige of Uganda. He fought against, the era of Mobutu Sese Zabanga Wakula.
So,
but again, he didn't make it, but his son has made it. And this, gives us hope to we as Ugandans, that today, if you are fighting, doesn't mean that when you're fighting today, you are going to be the leader tomorrow. Someone else may take over. That's why, like the way you see with America, when Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting for civil rights, he didn't become the first American president, but we had someone different.
So
Barack Obama.
The reason why I brought that topic, it's because of how Dr. Paul Williams advocated for democracy in Uganda, which led to the debate in the House of Commons. Isn't this a sign of Western influence coming back in Africa? And
yes, of course, there was pressure from the Western powers, and again, you see that we shouldn't even believe. For me, I won't be too quick to say that Tshisekedi is the hope of DRC.
But that is opposition.
Because you see, Tshisekedi, but for information, Tshisekedi is an ally of Mr. Museveni, our president, who has been torturing us for 33 years.
But
I don't know if you see a photo of Tshisekedi with Museveni. So these two, Museveni, by the way, is the one who is imposing leaders in all neighboring countries. Go to Burundi. The president of Burundi, Pierre Nkurunziza, he was imposed to the Burundians by Mr. Museveni. Go to Sudan with Omar el-Bashir. It was Museveni who imposed Omar el-Bashir on them. Go to South Sudan. Mr. Museveni imposed on them Salva Kiir. And also now we see there is this other guy, Riek Machar. So we don't know what's going on. Now he has created a war between the Nueras and Dinkas in South Sudan. So go to also Rwanda. It is Museveni who imposed on them Paul Kagame. So it's like now Museveni is creating a dynasty in the Great Lakes region. And this should be a threat to this region, because it's one man, Mr. Museveni, President Museveni, our president, who is disorganizing, who is playing the politics in this region.
Now, before you go on, I think, should we consider that as victory for Uganda, now that we kind of have an empire?
Well, I don't think we should even celebrate it as victory, because as I've told you, it's too early to decide, because trust me or not, there's a lot of tension, because first of all, the international community has not yet decided who they should second. This thing could go to the Constitutional Court, or the Supreme Court of Congo, and you could see events turning upside down. So it's a bit challenging, but it gives hope to the political prisoners in Congo, because many were imprisoned by the former president, Joseph Kabila, and also our Ugandan brother, comrade, Mugumya, the brother of Kizza Besigye. Right now, the guy is suffering in Congo. So maybe he could also be released as a
now I want to take you back. I want to take you back, but for this case, I want to go to Sarah. Sarah, Bobby Wine was supported actually to go to United Kingdom to attend the debate. Unfortunately, he didn't make it because of the treason cases facing right now. We're seeing Dr. William, and he was there. He committed something again in 2018. He comes back again, and he says we want to see democracy and rule of law in Uganda. Now, he takes the debate to United Kingdom. Is that a sign of progress for Uganda, or it's a sign that maybe people will believe that Bobi Wine is working for the West?
It doesn't matter who he works for, whether the West, but the ultimate goal would be to bring change in Uganda. Because if you're going to bring change in a country that has had someone in power for 33 years, who has changed the constitution, who has changed a number of things, who is a dictator, you need all the allies you can get. That's what happens. You need all the allies to bring him down. But again, what I would say, I saw even on social media people, and I saw a group of NRM youth going to the British Council, demonstrating why UK gets meddled into the issues of Uganda. And this is what I'm going to tell Ugandans: the moment you're still a beggar, a beggar has no choice. Uganda gets a lot of financial aid from United Kingdom. Uganda gets a lot of financial aid from America. The biggest budget of the military budget of Uganda is financed by the UK and US government. You have a lot of health aid coming in from these countries coming to Uganda, which are not even loans. You see all these NGOs operating in Uganda that have to do with HIV, that has to do with malaria. All those are donations. This money Uganda doesn't pay back. This money Uganda doesn't pay back. So if these countries, if for 32 years you fail to be independent enough to run your own budget, and you steal money left and right, even the donations are stolen. The money that was stolen, Gavi Fund, those were donations. This is money that was given to Uganda to fight HIV, but individuals stole it. So if you still have your budget financed by your former colonizer, they will meddle into your politics. Now they will meddle into the situation in Uganda because you still depend on them.
That's a very important statement, Sarah, that you've said. If you still allow if you're a beggar and you still allow foreign influence. Now, what we're seeing, the international community really has praised Bobi Wine. That's a fact.
Yeah, because the international community is also seeing. They are not, as much as they're not in Uganda, they see what is going on.
Isn't that going to be a cycle of them rolling our system?
I don't think it's a cycle of rolling the system.
Because the debate is Ugandans want Chinese out of Uganda. In other words, they're saying we are tired of foreign influence. And then we're seeing a new rising star, Bobi Wine, being supported by his lawyer Amsterdam Worldwide. We are seeing now Dr. Paul Williams coming in also from outside. So we are seeing an external force supporting him. Aren't we going back because he will have to pay them back when he gains power?
You see what happens? What do we owe Chinese? What do we owe Chinese? When you bring about the Chinese, in fact, the Chinese coming into, why are people so offended or want to fight Chinese? Chinese are not coming to Uganda as much as they hide behind development, of which money they take back to their own countries. Chinese are killing Ugandans. See all the fake things coming onto the market. You've seen fake eggs being done, plastic eggs being done in Kawempe. We've seen plastic cabbages. We've seen a plastic fish. These are things that are going to kill Ugandans. Ugandans are going to die of cancer. They do not know where it comes from. These are things they consume on the daily basis. You've seen China taking over countries like Zambia. They take over the airport, the police. China is coming forcefully to be a colony in ways they do not only want to colonize people and let them be, but they want even to kill them. Because if you meddle into the health of Ugandans by bringing all these plastic things that are going to cause them diseases, where even in hospitals there is no medication, where people cannot find cure, you're going to have so many kids born with no limbs. You do not have high rates of cancer in Uganda right now. But they're going to accumulate. People are eating plastic things. People are eating plastic eggs. So I do not want even to compare the two situations. When UK is debating about the democracy in a country which was its former colony, just tell me, do we have democracy in Uganda? Whatever they're talking about, they're right. There is no democracy in Uganda. If you have member of parliament, I had one member of parliament who is not coming back. I've forgotten which constituency he comes from, but he's NRM. He said to yeah, he said to pass. Was it to pass the lifting of the term limit or OTT? They were given 15 million each. How many members of parliament from the NRM are in parliament? 15 million. 15 million. There is nothing UK is debating that is not happening in Uganda. But on top of that, Uganda still gets financial aid. If Uganda, after 32 years, cannot be independent to run their economy, to run their systems, to run their institutions minus getting financial aid. You cannot stop a country that is supporting you with their own money without you paying back, that is giving you aid, from talking about the politics of your country. And again, to add on to that, if you're going to uproot someone who has been in power for 32 years, who is a dictator, who is not even about to leave power, because even after 2026, Museveni wants to come back. Literally, at a certain point, he's going to declare himself life president. You need allies. You need international force to help you, or you need people who understand, who can take him out. Because that's what you have to do. Because is he pushing the country into a place where you think it is going to benefit Ugandans? No. If now he's going to China and signing deals between him, Kutesa, and his wife, they're selling off Uganda. Soon you're going to find, you saw the eviction in Lusanja, you're going to find more people being evicted when land is being, the Chinese are waking up and taking over land. So Ugandans, as much as it's a young population, over 40 million people have a right. We definitely, when we get people fighting for us, we appreciate that, because we are prisoners. Ugandans are prisoners almost in their own country. When you have Chinese coming in, and instead they've come in with their own agenda, just killing, that's just to kill and reduce the population by bringing all these things that are going to cause diseases to Ugandans, then we will fight them.
All right, thank you. I want to thank people who are watching us live on Facebook and other social platforms. We thank you and appreciate always keeping the time and being part of the Uganda Crossroads talk show. And also your comments. Today we're going to look into some of the comments that are coming in. Despite the fact that the discussion is really getting tough and big and greater. So I want to appreciate people who are really sending in your comments and your arguments. If I come back to you, some of the most important things that governments always sign are sovereignty, independence of these governments. And what we are seeing is that Bobi Wine being supported by these foreign forces, he becomes a presidential candidate, and we see through people. Let's assume we have Bobi Wine here, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi here, we have, for example, Dr. Besigye there, then we have President Museveni here. And now we have a popular vote, many people support Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi. Then results come out, Dr. Besigye has won elections. What's going to happen? If he is being supported by the West, will they believe in elections?
Well, is the question in relation to Dr. Paul's position paper about Uganda's democracy? Or?
Actually, I'm looking into how the West is influencing Uganda's politics.
Now, you see, it depends. Different panelists have different, perspectives when it comes to foreign powers talking about the status quo of our country. The first thing I would like to say that, those who are saying that this is a wrong move for Dr. Paul to talk about democracy, the issue of democracy in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom. Because the same guys who are blaming Dr. Paul are the same guys who are, right now watching English Premier League. So they are saying that it is wrong for us to depend on foreigners. But right now, as I'm speaking, they are watching English Premier League. Yet at home, we have national local leagues that are being played. So you don't find Ugandans supporting Vipers or KCCA or Express or Villa FC. So you see the hypocrisy of some Ugandans. But again, this issue of the speech that was given, the position paper that was given by Dr. Paul in the House of Commons, it is something that is very helpful to our generation, because the position paper was talking about Uganda's democracy being under threat. And this is the truth.
Yeah.
For the last 3 decades, our democracy is under threat. If you look at the takeaways this doctor was talking about, it is the truth. And this doctor was not fighting for only Bobi Wine. No, he's fighting for Ugandans, because he's saying that I am fighting for all Ugandans. It's not a Bobi Wine's case only. Because if you look at the issue of the torturing of Ugandans was talking about. It talked about the time when the military stormed the parliament and they had to brutalize some parliamentarians, like Honorable Betty Namboze. He talked about her. So Betty Namboze has a different ideology from, you know, Bobi Wine, because for her she's more affiliated to the camp of Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye. He also talked about the torturing of Kano Dr. Kizza Besigye, and also talked about the torturing of Bobi Wine. So these are three different people I was talking about. He also talked about the event of Arua 33 that happened on 12th of August 2018. And again, the same Dr. Paul was talking about the attack of the military or the massacre of Museveni's military in King Mumbere's palace in Kasese that left about 157 people being massacred. This was beyond, this was inhumane by this government of Mr. Museveni. Then he was talking about also the Order Public Management Act that we have, that was passed by the former Premier of Uganda, Honorable Mama Mbabazi.
Supported by the members of parliament.
For you to assemble, you need to
get authorization from the
Uganda police.
Right?
Yeah. So UK to discuss about the democracy of Uganda. They have all the rights.
Isn't that a sign of disrespect to Uganda's democracy?
No, it's not. You see, today we are living in what we call a global complex world, or a complex world, which is interdependent. And again, we have what we call international standards.
Yeah, and
so Uganda is part of the Commonwealth countries. Commonwealth countries, they are 53, and we are part of them. So we are, we are liable to accountability using the international standards, the same international standards Dr. Paul Williams was talking about. Then we are also a member state to the United Nations. The UN has 193 member states,
right.
And Uganda, we are part of it. So again, we should account for the the issues of respecting human rights, protecting human rights, and also promoting human rights. So when it goes to the UN, they have all the rights to make Uganda accountable for the atrocities they are doing. When it goes to the issue of the UK, this is something they also have. And I know very well, this guy, Dr. Paul, he said he was in Kanungu. He was working as volunteering, imagine, working for no pay in Kanungu district. So he was learning, a lot about our system. And he's telling you that when I worked in Kanungu district, I saw lots of things, and I felt concerned as a volunteer from a different country that respects the right of health, because the right of health is not a privilege. But to Mr. Museveni, our president, he thinks it's a privilege. No, every Ugandan should be having that right to health.
Yeah,
and Dr. Poagain was telling you that when I was in Kanungu, the nurses lacked the morale to work. There were no medical facilities. The same government of Mr. Museveni that is complaining about the position of Dr. Paul, remember very well, they introduced him to security operation agencies, because he talked about GISO. So he was telling you that GISO is just there to spy on Ugandans and brutalize them. So these are the things I was telling them. Before you come in, these are powerful takeaways from Dr. Paul's position.
When you talk about
that UK, his government works hand in hand with the government of Mr. Museveni on the issues of helping refugees from South Sudan. So they are giving our government of Mr. Museveni a lot of money to help refugees who are coming from South Sudan to be given shelter in our country. So without the help of United Kingdom, then there is no way we can host refugees. Because as I speak to you right now, Uganda is the third largest hosting country of refugees in the entire country, and we are the first. We are the biggest hosting country of refugees on the whole of Africa. And again, he was telling you also that when it comes to training the military of Uganda, the UPDF of Uganda, he was very cautious about it. He was like, why should UK keep training the military of Uganda, thinking that they are going to keep a peace of Ugandans. But again, at the end of the day, they are torturing Ugandans. So they are concerned about it, because they are saying that if we are training you, we have to ensure that we are training you for a good cause, not to torture, not to abuse the rights of Ugandans.
Let me stop you from there.
You know very well that Uganda is doing a great job in the country of Somalia. So it's the aid we are getting from the United Kingdom. And again, Dr. Paul is telling Dr. Paul is telling you that UK can play different sanctions, because Ugandans were asking, can't you place some sanctions on those who are abusing the rights of Ugandans? One, they were suggesting that maybe we can freeze the accounts of those Ugandans who are, of those government officials who have accounts in the UK. So you can use your powers and freeze the accounts. You can call upon all your allies like the US, Italy, France, and Denmark to freeze the accounts of those Ugandans who are abusing the rights of Ugandans. And again, he was saying that we can also put travel bans to those who are abusing the rights of Ugandans. So the likes of these military officers, or these spokespersons of the government like Ofono Pondo, if you talk nonsense, then they can put a travel ban on you. Do not go to UK, do not go to Switzerland, do not go to the US. So he was suggesting
I think you said something about the different institutions in Uganda spying on Ugandans, and I don't want to go out to Sarah over that point. Let me start with a comment from Facebook. Asimwe Amot says, the only way to retain our sovereignty and independence in Uganda and Africa at large is creating independent institutions and give them full powers to take decisions on their own without interference of other arms of government, especially the executive. Now, Sarah, I want to start from there over this point, and inclusive of the spying on Ugandans. Isn't that the responsibility of these institutions to protect the people of Uganda, what you call spying?
That's supposed to be their number one responsibility and role, but as you know, everyone has diverted from what they're supposed to do, so they are more of working for an individual. Then I look at all institutions in Uganda, they seem to be dead, even where, for example, look at the religious institution, where you expect them to come out and talk about very important issues that affect Ugandans, like when you see the rampant murders, the kidnaps, the poor service delivery, the corruption. They never say anything. People are being evicted from land. There is no religious leader coming up to even give a comment or address and say this is wrong. But when it comes to very useless issues that should not even be paid attention to, they come out and make the biggest noise. So institutions, look at look at what is happening in the economy of Uganda. Look at what's happening in Bank of Uganda. Look at what's happening in the medical sector. You have a government institution like Mulago being sold off. If, for example, when you live in countries where they put the people first. I'd never been to the emergency room because of being sick. It happened on 25th December. I ended up in the emergency room. But apart from taking my names and the rest, I didn't hear anyone asking me for money. Every doctor, I had 4 doctors working on me, and I can't count the nurses, because every doctor who has a specialization in something came. You can imagine, I'm talking of 25th. They were in hospital checking, and I didn't hear anything to do with money. I didn't hear how much do you have. Everyone was working so hard to see. They saved my life. I don't know how many scans I had to do. I don't know how many rooms I had to go to. But I was being driven to different rooms. I never walked. You do not know how many times people are taking care of me. Every doctor would come and introduce themselves to me, telling me, oh, I'm a doctor specializing in this, I'm a doctor. And I'm telling you, even after I was released to go back home, the hospital kept calling me to follow up on me. How many people received that in Mulago? Yesterday I was talking to someone and told me, do you know how many people get accidents and get permanent disability? Not because they were meant to get disabled, but because there are no services to treat them to avoid permanent disabilities just because of a mere accident. So when you have institutions not working and they are all being infrastructured, everyone is working for an individual, you don't expect anything to make any sense. You can imagine, you find Museveni giving orders in police, in the army, in the health sector, in agriculture. He's one person, but he's broken up into, and this is wearing him down. He's literally everywhere, in markets, in Owino, in Chiseka. We have very educated people in Uganda. We have very effective people in Uganda.
So
we have
as a fountain of honor, as a president of Uganda, doesn't he have a right to go to those places?
Why are you having, the role of the president is not to foresee what happens in Owino market?
Maybe he's trying to campaign for himself and the government to show that he cares for the people.
No, but that's why there is specialization of labor in everything. If you're the MD or the CEO of a company, but you want to know what is in the kitchen, what is in the toilet, you're going to break down. And that's not how I'll just equate that to a company. That's not how successful companies, organizations work. Come back to a country like Uganda. Why is he having ministers? Then if he wants to do everything, let him fire the ministers, let him fire the permanent secretaries, let him fire the RDCs, let him fire all those people, because you still want to be everywhere, but you're wasting hundreds of thousands of shillings on two people who are not performing. And just because everything you want to manhandle it, you want to have a final say in every institution. And that's why it is killing all the institutions in Uganda, because people no longer work on people no longer work and put in their effort to deliver services, but the president has to poke his nose into everything, or he wants to have the final or control of every institution in Uganda. But when you look at all these institutions, they've completely failed, because no one is responsible, or no one has been given the mandate to deliver by being effective. The only institution Uganda Museveni has managed to grasp, and it is in his hands, it is the Uganda police and the army. And you see the way he's using them to brutalize Ugandans on a daily basis. But look at the health sector. Is it working? When you look at the service delivery in Uganda, is it working? When you look at the agricultural sector, is it working? It is not. People are eating. People are now harvesting their own matoke and making crude waraju or booze out of it. You know, the things that they would, we used to be one of the biggest, when I was in primary, we used to say, what is the biggest cash crop Uganda exports? It used to be cotton and coffee. What happened?
But let me read to you one comment, and I've really got an interest in it. Chugundi Joe, he says, if you give birth to a child and he grows up and get married, and you see a child suffering in his or her marriage, as parent, don't you have a right to say something? That is UK. That is UK is a parent, and Museveni is a child, and Uganda is the marriage. So UK has a fundamental right to say and do anything. Now I'm taking you back to that. How can that be right when they gave you independence in 1962? But
the thing you're failing to understand, you got independence in 1962, but you're not independent. You still get financial aid. If your biggest budget, the military budget, is financed by UK and USA, if you still get the biggest budget of your health sector is financed by UK and USA, then you're not independent. You're not, and still even the money they give you, it is robbed, it is stolen by your officers, by the ministers. You saw what happened in the PM office. So you're not independent. They have every right to have a say. If right now, Hillary has been just giving you an argument that if UK and US is still training the police and the military in Uganda, these are resources. They are giving their knowledge, they are giving their time, they are giving their expertise, and Uganda is not paying for it. If they're training you to be professional and you're not even professional at all, that they're training you to protect. And then what do? You're busy brutalizing. I've asked you, the other time I asked you, how many times have you seen the US military on the streets of Kampala, of Uganda, of America? How many times did you see? I've not seen any. Well,
yeah, my answer would be the same. I've not seen many of them. Maybe
on the streets
vacation
on the streets of Uganda, you see the red top. Even in simple, useless issues, that can be calmed down by the police, the military has to come in. You saw what happened on the Bobby Wine's concert that was cancelled in Busabara. Why was the army doing that?
Maybe they were protecting the people.
Why is the role of, you see, you're confusing the role of the army and the role of the police. The role of the army and police, even by constitution, it is clearly demarcated. The police, the army is completely doing the role of the police. If you want, disband the police and say it is, we no longer have the Ugandan police, it is the army. The army is completely being brought out to do things that they're not mandated to do, even by the constitution. So when you see countries like UK coming up and saying, come on, this is not the democracy that meets the standards of developed countries or countries that are democratic in the world. What is the army? Why is the army interfering in situations where the police can calm down? And exactly when you see the army, I guess we had a certain portion of time in our years where we used to respect the army. You used to see them, and the red top, we would rarely see them come out, but they're all over Kampala. They are all over everywhere. You find them in bars, in uniform. You find them everywhere. So their roles, what Ugandans used to see them as, or the respect keeps on diminishing because they are everywhere. You've seen them brutalize Uganda. You saw when I don't know if it was the army spokesperson when he was in Parliament, when he said, when videos came up of police brutalizing, the army brutalizing Ugandans on the streets of Kampala, he said that's not, those pictures are doctored, that is Nigeria.
Yeah, those are from Nigeria,
Those are Nigerians. He was, because...
Wasn't he true?
It was definitely, it was false. That was, even they took what happened when Bobi Wine was returning in Uganda, that guy, Sweet Pepsi, that was brutalized. So it is, you do not blame countries that were part of Uganda for a very long time and gave Uganda its independence and still financially support Uganda, see the things happening they see their child doing all these atrocities and they keep quiet, especially if you still get aid from them. They are going to say something.
Yeah. So
if I could say something also, just to add on what Sarah said.
Sure.
With the question of Chigundu, because Chigundu was talking about
the responsibility of the United Kingdom over Uganda,
yes,
right?
Because now putting it back again to the position paper of Dr. Paul Williams, because he was telling us that we have the international standards we have to follow, as because UK, we look at them as development partners with us. So there is that interdependence between Uganda and the UK. And again, if you look at the international standards again of human rights, looking at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, because it's universal, so it means Uganda has to respect the 30 articles in that document of 1948. So if you look at Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it talks about the freedom of speech and expression. So if the UK sees the government of Uganda, abusing our freedom of expression and speech, then they are right to come and put pressure on the government that, hey, why you are suppressing the freedom of speech of Ugandans? Then look at Article 20 also. It talks about the freedom of peaceful assembly. So today, if you want to assemble as people of the People Power Movement, of course, the government of Mr. Museveni is going to deny you the opportunity to assemble peacefully. Yes, Article 20 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights gives us that mandate, and it says that your member state, the UN, has to ensure that they promote that article, they protect it, and they make you to enjoy it.
There is a song.
Look at also this thing, because Asimwe, I think it was Asimwe who was telling you about the independence of these institutions.
Right.
That's the right thing that we should be having. And that's why we are saying that Museveni must go. Because once Museveni goes, then we are going to build institutions that are independent. Because right now, under the leadership of dictator President Museveni, we are not having independent institutions. So we want an independent judiciary. Because look at the judiciary right now, they're not independent. As Sarah said, they are getting orders from above. Look at the police, it's not independent, it's getting orders from above, the president. Look at the executive, it's not also independent itself. So they sit at the executive for an executive meeting, but it's one man who's saying what to say. And again, if you look at also this position paper of Dr. Paul, he was giving us the position of Uganda in terms of transparency, in terms of fighting corruption. Because he's telling us, according to the report of Transparency International, we are ranked 151 out of 180 countries. So we are doing bad love. And that's why you see when it comes to the issues of the national debt, it's always skyrocketing.
Right.
We are putting our country in danger, and our allies are also worried. They are saying that if we don't intervene to help Ugandans come out of this time bomb they are sitting on, then we are creating problems on the Horn of Africa. So we want to see that we have.
All right. So I want to end up. I want to end that discussion with this question. In one of the songs of Bobby Wine, he said, "I'm going to change into English, and then I'll bring it back in Uganda."
Okay.
He said, "If you allow someone to make you a beggar, he will at one time come into your house and make decisions for you." In Uganda court, wabula oli buli bwakufula beggar ajane makago nakolera amateeka. Now, in response to that, as we're concluding this entire topic discussion of Britain and Uganda, Paul Williams and Uganda, isn't that in line with what Bobby Wine sang?
No,
because he's making the West is making him to be a beggar, so he's making Ugandans to say, "Hey, West, come and rescue us."
No, that's totally different, because you see, Bobby Wine has not begged the UK to come and give us a hand, and also, as I've told you, Dr. Paul's intervention is not because of Bobby Wine. It's not because of Kanakiza Besigye, but it's because of his love for the country, where he came and volunteered as a medical practitioner. Because he tells you when he was giving his position paper that I worked in Kanungu district as a volunteer, a medical volunteer. So he was looking at the situations we are living in. He was looking at the people in Kanungu, the lifestyles they were having, and he saw lots of humane things. So he said that once I go back to my own country, let me be also the voice of the Ugandans who are voiceless. So it's not that Bobby Wine, they contacted him to lobby for us. But again, as I told you at the beginning, we are living in an interdependent world. So we depend on each other. The UK needs us, and we need the UK. So both of us can't survive without the other.
So from that point, Sarah, UK needs us. We also need UK. Does that answer the question of, aren't we beggars?
It is still, I told you, if you still get financial aid from these countries, they are going to meddle into the way you run things. If your institutions are not working, for example, you had the Gavi Fund, this money that came in, I think, from US and UK. This money was meant to buy medicine for people living with HIV. And this money was stolen by a few individuals, not even 10 people, a few individuals. Don't expect them to keep quiet. This is, by the way, this is money coming from the taxpayers of UK. Taxpayers of UK, through money, some of the surplus spared is given to poor countries like Uganda. But again, when the money gets to Uganda, it fails to do exactly what it's meant to do, and it is being shared by a few individuals. So don't expect them to keep quiet. And still, you're still a beggar, because if you still get financial aid. But again, if there are institutions that they've truly passionate, and for example, if the UK is training the military personnel in Uganda, and they train them to be professional, and then what they see are the military personnel in Uganda brutalizing Ugandans instead of protecting them, they'll not keep quiet, because they're giving their skills, they are giving their expertise. And because are you trying to take, because if UK is training your army to be professional and you're showing something else, you're reflecting whatever you're showing is a bad reflection to them, because that's not who they are. they are not exactly what you're portraying, yet they're the ones who trained you. Because if you say, if we wake up tomorrow and we say, oh, Uganda army is behaving whatever, they're behaving like that, but they were trained by the UK, you're really portraying a bad picture to the UK government, yet they train them to be professional. But because they're being manned by an individual, so they're behaving in any way they want.
All right, thank you so much. For people who are watching us wherever you are, we want to thank you. For people who are watching us from South Africa or the whole of Africa, Asia, Europe, United States, South America, we want to thank you so much for always being part of Uganda Crossroads, and also being part of the Campfire Talk Show, being part of Life MTV, being part of the Campfire TV. Now, I want us guys to end up with this discussion that is now roaming everywhere in Uganda. The Kosase saga. Up to now, people expected the Munyagwa to have been put in his position as the leader of Kosase in Parliament of Uganda. It has not happened. The struggle between FDC and the Speaker of Parliament of Uganda has continued tremendously. No one believes in one another. One says you block the road. Another says, no, I didn't do anything. I'm the Speaker of Parliament of Uganda. She has the powers to do that. What's going on?
But you see, what happens with the Kosase is because Munyagwa was elected to run the committee, I would love him to take it up. But this is happening in the middle. The committee is almost where things are getting juicy, that if you bring in someone new as a chairman, it takes you many steps ahead. It's like, I'll just give an example, people in Ghana may not understand it. It's like asking Mula to drop the investigation is running right now, and you bring in a new person. You're taking that 10 steps backwards. So I think for the good of, because I don't think they're going to take any more, maybe 10 more months or 5 more months, for the good of the consistency and continuing to where they were. I think so many issues are going to come up. It's not only going to be the Bank of Uganda. So many things are going wrong in Uganda, and I guess there are so many things this committee runs. Since the change in the committee leadership happened in the middle of the investigation, I don't see anything wrong, Munyagwa, waiting for a few or 1 month or 2 months for this committee to conclude. And if he feels they didn't do something right, or there's things he needs to add on, when it's his tenure as a chairman, he can go back and dig up whatever is happening. For the sake of the continuity and not to distort and not to lose the momentum, I think it is very right for Kantutu to just finish up. And Munyagwa is part of the committee, am I right? He's part of the committee people. So I guess maybe the compromise would be to deputize Kantutu right now, so that they finish, because I'm very sure when they're done with this committee, another committee is coming up. Another issue is coming up in the committee. So I think he could work closely with him. I know people have been demoralizing Munyagwa because of his character, his comical, and his all that. You know, Ugandans have a tendency of judging a book by its cover. People always judge you without knowing your potential. People just look at the surface of things. That's why many things, that's why you have people still claiming, oh, Museveni fought for us. Fought for who? He became, you know, most of us were kids when he became president.
All right.
He didn't fight for us, you know. So what I'm saying is, for the sake of the fact that they're almost, because I've been watching today morning the video footage of Bagenda stealing documents from her office. They are in the middle of a very intensive, complex investigation. Let Kantutu finish. I know so many things are going to come up, and maybe Munyagwa can deputize him right now. And I don't really see, and if he feels they've not done something right, when he becomes committee chairman, he can go back and open reinvestigation of what this committee did. All right.
So, Harry, what would be your say on the issue of Kosase? Because I think the latest video I saw was Munyagwa wasn't in the country. So I don't know whether it was true or wrong. I don't know whether he's back in the country yet. But what I do know is that he's not yet in his office. Mm-hmm. What is your say?
Yes. At the beginning, of course, we saw that this was politics of Najana Nkumbi, because as the opposition, you see that we failed to unite, even in minor things like the Kusasi leadership, because all the other committees, well, their leaders were given the chance to take over offices. But again, this was a sensitive issue. It was a national issue where all Ugandans were very concerned about what was going on in our country. So I think we were supposed to give an opportunity to Kantun to ensure that he finalizes the task he was given, because he had covered over 90% of this investigation. So he was remaining with a very like small percentage, like about 10%. So it was common sense that you couldn't just bring in someone, because for your information, Munyagwa was not part of Kosasi. He was not sitting in these proceedings, so he couldn't, just jump in out of nowhere to make conclusions and write a report.
Yeah.
So I think the speaker did made the right decision, as I said last time, that it was a challenge of interpretation of the rules of procedure, because you see that at times those who were outspoken, like my comrade Samujunganda, he was not telling us all the rules of procedures. So for him was mainly basing on rule number 157, I think, and he was leaving out like rule number 8 and also other rules. So, but again, when we got people who knew the rules, I think they were able to tell the public that the speaker had the powers to give the extension to Kantuntu. Because today even Sarah's talked about the Mueller investigation in the US Congress, and just know that Mueller was also given an extension. Just recently, I think about 4 days ago, he was given an extension to ensure that he investigates to see whether Russia meddled into the US presidential elections of 2016. So I think the speaker also did the right thing to ensure that Kantuntu finalizes that report, because it has come to an end. And this report is showing us how our country has been left in a total mess, because you see billions and billions have been swindled.
So that is
the level of also impunity.
Is
you
that
see how crocodiles in the corruption lake of Uganda have been left just to swim in each and every corner.
Is that
so? Now they are, bringing and you see the people who are brought in this committee, they are trained on what to answer and when. You see, so that lady, the bodyguard of Bajenda, she was returning. Mr. Chairman, you asking me lots of questions.
She didn't know anything. Yeah, she didn't know anything.
She knows everything.
But she carried the bags.
If these people, the mafia governments, they train you on what to do each and every time. So they're going to train you how to carry sacks of money.
On one hand,
no, moderator, can you carry 10 billion and you don't even check? 10 billion in cash.
This would be now. Let me give you my question.
Look at if you see the video footage, they entered the bank through the security checkup. On carrying out documents, they avoided the security checkup.
Exactly.
So you mean she didn't know what she was taking? Why didn't she go through it? When they had finished carrying all whatever they were taking, and they didn't have any baggage on them, when they came out with baggage, they went through the security checkup. Right. When they were carrying documents from the police, they avoided it. They know everything. It's just full of
Here's a point. I think her role as a bodyguard is to protect the boss. And here's the thing.
And the bodyguards know too much.
We don't have to understand that they sign contracts that you don't say anything about me.
No. Let me tell you. This was an investigation that was on oath. She took an oath to tell the truth, nothing but the truth.
And she lied.
So she was supposed to tell us the truth. But the moment you start lying and they don't put you in jail. So this, actually I'm blaming even Kantuntu for not putting these people in jail. Because they left them free. The only thing Kantuntu said, remove the government property, the vehicle from agenda.
All right, so I want to ask you.
She was supposed to go to jail. But right now, look at what's going on, because our economy is in a mess.
So
they are telling us that our national debt is at 41.6 trillion Ugandan shillings.
Now,
and if you look at the losses Bagenda has contributed to our national debt, it's over 3 trillion. If you combine all the losses,
and then you have the minister talking about the economy of Uganda going.
And he's going, then you know, what nonsense is going on in our country? And we have President Museveni, and you think that we have.
Well, this is a fact. This is a fact.
Crazy. This is crazy.
For a fact.
Right now, if you have to know that you have to know that the debt per capita for each and every Ugandan is 950,000. So.
Now, for the fact
debt being at 41.6 trillion shillings, and each and every Ugandan, because if you look at the data of 2019, right now, our population has increased to 45 million Ugandans. So each of the 45 million Ugandans is going to pay 950,000 Ugandan shillings. This is not a national debt we are going to, reduce in just days or years. It's going to be a burden to the next generation.
Here's a fact.
Look at like 50 years to 100 years from now. Then you're wondering what's going on.
Shouldn't we consider that as a success story to President Museveni? And the fact is, he has been complaining about Bank of Uganda corruption tendencies.
You see,
that is success for President Museveni.
What gave us Mutevili as the governor of Bank of Uganda in 2001, and if you see that this governor has left our central bank in a mess like this, and you can't fire him, then there is a problem with our president.
He's still under investigation.
Look at countries like India. Last year, they fired their central bank governor because he was doing a total mess. So for India, they said, no, we can't tolerate this nonsense. But again, for Mr. Museveni, it's just rewarding him. It's like,
so what's your view about that?
You see, if you say it's a success story for President Museveni, success stories come, you only talk about success stories when they are result-oriented. Have we seen the people like Bagenda pay back for the money stolen? Have we frozen all the accounts? Have we taken over all their properties? Those are the success stories, because you make people accountable and they pay back the money they stole. So if you have, because this is not the first, this is not the first time reports have been done. We have a report on the killings of Kawesi, we have the Chogam, we have the Gavi Fund, but people are still enjoying the wealth they stole.
Let me take you guys here. This is a very main concern. In the United States, when someone is indicted, for example, if maybe the Congress or the Senate calls for someone to come and, give his position, his or her position, sometimes they recommend the FBI to go and look into the case. Isn't Uganda having an organization or an institution that was set to cater for such investigation?
If all those institutions are there, but the problem they have is the institutions are as dormant and as useless and non-functional. Because you talked about America briefly, I'll tell you, I was seeing the case of Cohen.
Right.
He's going to pay $1.8 million to the IRS in, I think, their monies they never declared.
Yeah, the fraud, yes.
You don't cheat this government. You see, but you see people like Bagenda, I see, you stop using government property, and I see when she's leaving the committee, she's stayed in the same car with the bodyguard opening for her. So the issue
because when you look at Bagena's case, she's not yet a criminal.
No, but the issue is Museveni would have had so many success stories if we had results that such and such a person has been indicted or is responsible for this and this, and they are found guilty. Yes, they stole the money, and then yes, put them in Luzira, but collect, because this money, these guys spend it on buying houses, on accumulating property. Find ways of getting back that money.
All right, thank you,
I'll
sir.
tell you one thing, what I liked. It's totally not related to this. I liked when the white man who had an issue with Bad Black and Medi Sentongo. He confiscated all their properties. None of Bad Black and Sentongo remained with the house in Kampala or any property. He had very efficient lawyers that confiscated all their cars, all the property, all the houses they had bought, all the lands. He made sure, maybe he's not going to recover the money they spent in bars, but all the properties they had bought from the money they had stolen from him, he confiscated them. He got all the properties, all the houses. They had more than 3 houses. He used people closest to them. He used all their friends. He paid off all their friends to show him all the properties they had. And he got back the money. That's what we want from government. Freeze all these guys' accounts. Don't only freeze accounts. Get back all the houses they have built, all the lands because they're using this money, they're using money they've stolen or they've swindled to buy all these properties. Get them back. Either government should repossess them or government should sell them and the money goes back to the government coffers. But every time a report comes out, nothing is done. And that's why you see murders are going to continue every day. Do people still stop stealing because of the report? No. If people stop receiving because of the reports, they would have stopped on the Gavi fund. People are still stealing every day. Even after Bank of Uganda, you're going to see maybe in UNRA. You saw what happened in UNRA as well. There was the road to Katosi, which was constructed at over 1 billion and there was no road. So because there is no aftermath, because people are not made accountable, and I'm talking of full accountability, then it's not going to stop.
All right, so I want to thank you before we close the show.
Yeah. I can also say something briefly, because you were asking where are the institutions to intervene in such cases?
Right.
Because for the issue of Bank of Uganda, I think we see some procrastination of the office of the IGG, because they would pick very high interest in this case, but right now they're silent about it. Look at also the office of the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutors. They're also very silent about it. But these are the institutions that you would see very eager to know what's going on. Actually, they wouldn't even stop Bajenda to leave Parliament on the last day of this investigation. She would go straight direct to the jail.
Yeah.
And they get more answers from her. Because right now, she has gone back home and they are destroying evidence.
Maybe she has a right to.
Which right? Which right when you're messing up with the national economy? Which right when you're messing up with the lives of innocent Ugandans? Which right? Because they're asking for minutes, and you're telling us you don't have minutes for selling a bank. For people lost, people had assets, shares in this bank. They lost money.
But to add on what he's saying is, Uganda is fighting so much to have investors come in Uganda. Investors are watching whatever is happening. Yes, Who do you want to come and invest in a country? Because the National Bank holds the economy. The National Bank holds the economy of the country.
Isn't there
so you
privilege?
Expect some good substantial investors to come and invest maybe 10 billion, 5 billion US dollars in Uganda with an economy, with a bank run like that, because I could be an investor with an account in either Crane Bank. If tomorrow Bank of Uganda comes and takes up whatever, I'm going to lose my money. So it is affecting, it's going to affect the economy. At the same time, it affects investors who want to invest in an economy run like in shambles.
All right, so it's not about privilege, but
because there are some documents that may not be publicly.
No,
publicized.
There is no privilege here, because this is a national interest. Because all Ugandans are concerned about the status quo. Because if we don't get the right image of our country, then we are leaving it in a total mess. So as Ugandans, right now what they have to do is to ensure that they first remove the president out of power, because he has failed to rescue our country. And again, it's worrying, because if you look at the projection of our national debt, is just skyrocketing. And this year, trust me, the government of Uganda is going to borrow and borrow and borrow out of money. And again, look at also the Minister of Finance, Matija Kasaija. He was telling us that the government lost 1.2 trillion shillings just on the National Agricultural Advisory Services and also Operation Wealth Creation, OWC. So what does it mean? because the minister said that they don't see results on the ground. So if you invested 1.2 trillion shillings in the NADS project, and you as the finance minister, you're coming out to say that there are no benefits from this project, then it shows you where the country is going.
They're giving people,
then
you give people beans, seedlings, and they're eating them because they don't have food.
The implementers of the project benefited more than the actual beneficiaries.
Yeah, starting from there, stopping from there,
you're wondering.
starting from there, I promised Sarah to would come back on something that is really a little bit different from what we're talking about right now. I promised that we would come back and talk about the money given to the promoters. Before we close the show, promoters went to President Museveni under their leadership, and Ruben Chibuka and the rest. And they were given 2 billion Ugandan shillings to settle the problem. Wasn't that a great move for the government to solve the problem that was going to come after?
And that's why it is really absurd to have... that's why I keep asking, I don't know who advises the president, because he has a team of very incompetent, shallow people, because you stop Bobby Wine from performing, of which if Bobby Wine does his show, one is employing so many Ugandans, the guys, the owners of the machines get paid, people who come and sell their items, the food and all that, get an income for a day. Then you have events organizers paying back taxes to the country. And then you have, let's say, for just one show, you employ about 500 or 1,000 people, put money in their pockets. These are Ugandans. But you choose to pay 1 billion to promoters who are not even 10. So in other words, Museveni has ceased to work for Ugandans. He's totally showing us his, you know, when you want to develop a country, or he's totally fighting us all his energies. He's spending all his energies fighting a boy old enough to be his son or even his grandson, and he's failing to do the vital. Because at this point in time, there's nothing new he's going to do or change. But it is so absurd. I was reading somewhere where Bebe Cool has been given a here 1 billion to be to fight Bobby Wine. And I'm like, why are you wasting money on these useless people? What are they going to do? Ugandans, you see, it is, you have the biggest portion of the population that do not conform to the old Twebak. Because they've been born in this era. They've been born in this era, they're suffering unemployment, they don't have jobs, they don't have food, they have all these problems. They don't have medical care, the service delivery is poor, and then you give an individual money to come on radio stations and talk bullshit. And he's not even talking sense. At least pick out some intelligent guys, people who are pick up some good liars who are believable, who are eloquent, who know what to say. But again, you're spending money and giving it to individuals who are only putting you further in the ditch.
Well, yeah, so I think, Harry, I want you to intervene in that, because I think this is really a great move by the state to settle the violence that is coming up.
Well, this shows you the commercialization of this government. Like if you look at the level of cash flows in this government, it worries you a lot, because if he can give, you know, an association of music that huge sum of money, yet Ugandans are suffering, it means a lot that we are in total danger as a nation. I can tell you that today the teachers or lecturers of public universities have all agreed to put the tools down come the beginning of next semester, because they are demanding the government of Mr. Museveni about 25 billion. So they are saying, if you don't get that money, come next semester, we are not going to teach.
And you're wasting 1 billion
And
on
you are wasting
promoters.
1 billion
Yeah, because
promoters.
it's
First, now look at this. The Parliament of Uganda also is given 8 billion Ugandan shillings just for their meals. 8 billion Ugandan shillings. They are giving that money to this restaurant of Parliament called Helena Restaurant. So it means in a year, the Parliament of Uganda spends 4 billion Ugandan shillings. Then it means each month, the Parliament of Uganda is spending about 333 million
Ugandan shillings
just for meals. Then in a day, it means the Parliament of Uganda is spending about 11 million just on meals.
I think it's part of
this is a problem. Then they tell you the Parliament of Uganda is spending also 150 million each year just on toilet papers. Where are we going as a nation?
No,
members of Parliament.
Hillary, just to interject a little bit, I don't want to cut you off your point. Toilet paper would be understandable. Why can't members of Parliament provide their own meals?
Yes, I was kind
the members of Parliament came out and said we can't move to, or we can't move to and come back when you're sweating. So what I say,
you have a lunch break. You have a lunch break for 1 hour, 2 hours. Go out and eat.
We, as the taxpayers, we are paying each parliamentarian a lot of money.
About 25 million a month.
Yeah,
and on top of allowance.
It's very expensive for them to move.
On top of sitting allowances.
We are paying them 28 million.
On top of sitting allowances.
The allowances, it goes to about 30 million. So the country is in a mess.
They have to dress up, they have to put on suits every day. They have to go and give money to the people.
Tomorrow, the government of President Museveni is going to tell you that we don't have money to pay teachers. We have to borrow money from China and pay our teachers. Remember very well, the incumbent president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, was laughing at our country for the move they made in the recent years of borrowing money to pay our teachers. You can go to schools. The children lack scholastic materials. You can go to schools. Children are sitting on the ground. You can go to schools. The girl child is missing to go to school because she lacks hygienic products or sanitary pads. And this government is comfortable. You can go to schools whereby girls or children, they can't, cross the rivers to access an education. And the government has failed to build bridges, but they are wasting money on these things. As Sarah has told you, why can't the parliamentarians, pay for their lunches? Why can't they buy lunch boxes?
And bring your own lunch.
Can they cook food at their homes?
Yeah, bring your own food.
If you have a female parliamentarian, let the husband cook for her food.
The argument.
If we have a male parliamentarian, let the wife and the husband cook food.
They can still go out. I've been in Uganda and I've worked in Uganda. There is no organization in Uganda that provides food for their staff.
That's why we are saying that this song, Tuliyambale Ngule, is about changing all these things, because we are spending extravagant. Because if you look at look at our expenditure.
Is it constitutional? Is it under the rules of procedure for Parliament to provide food to these people?
Taxes. We have to cut all the expenditures, because if we are to cut our national debt, that is a worry to the next generation. 41.6 trillion. That's a lot of money, because they are telling you that if you collect revenues, then you can't spend over 15% of your total revenues to cater for your debts. But right now, we've surpassed that figure. We are spending 17% of our collected revenues just to pay to service our national debt.
Do you expect
things? Then we have very many useless presidential advisors, over 200. They are doing nothing. The government of Uganda is telling you, right now we have 41 municipalities, but they are telling you by 2021, by the elections time, we shall have over 100 municipalities.
They're decentralizing, right?
What does that mean? we are going to increase our administrative costs. Then it means the taxpayers' money is going to be wasted. And this government of dictator General Dr. Museveni is telling that they are creating more employment opportunities.
Exactly.
But they are suffering. They are suffering the wananchi because, first of all, we don't have money. We are going to get money. At the end of the day, the government is going to resort to borrowing. Now, they are telling you they're borrowing from China. But who are the people negotiating our deals, our borrowing agreements? Because Sarah has told you it's the government, it's Mr. Museveni, rather the president. So
his wife and
they represented they represent a country.
Get people who have knowledge to strike better deals for our country. But again, if you take
people who will be accountable,
maybe they have experts.
Look at this. Now, which expert? Because if you're taking a senior to drop out, the vice president, or the first lady of our country, Janet Kataha Museveni, who can't a senior to drop out?
She has
she never stepped in any lecture room in Makere. All the exams were done for her.
You think she's going to get us?
She has a balance, right?
No,
she has a degree that was done for her. She never stepped in any university class in Makere.
Look at the former finance minister, Saida Bumba.
We cannot.
She signed an agreement without even reading it, and she left our country in total mess. Now look at the best we're getting from financial institutions like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. They are giving us very, very expensive loans that we can't service in a very short time. Now this is the problem of Mr. Museveni, and that's why you see the movement of people power is very resilient. It's awakening the mindset of Ugandans. It's telling them the time is now for Mr. Museveni to go. Because once we leave the president who has ruled us, in fact, for 33 years into power, then we are leaving our country in total mess.
All right, so what will be your final say towards that? What will be your final say?
Of Mr. Museveni?
It's, sometimes the situation sometimes I just sit back and I feel like maybe the situation in Uganda is really depressing.
Exactly.
It is really, really depressing. When you hear money being stolen left and right, you wonder. And you see you have a growing economy of people who are not working, very unemployed. Who is going to pay for that debt? When you have a biggest percentage of the young people not working, because you expect who are they going to get the taxes from? You have people who are jobless, idle, roaming around. You're going to get a situation where whoever donated money to, if it's China, taking over Uganda and say the airport is ours, now we've taken over Bank of Uganda is ours. We are going to go we are leading exactly where Zambia is, because there is borrowing money when you have a productive population. Yes. The biggest part of the population you have in Uganda is unproductive. Young, able men working up every day, but they have nowhere to go and work. They have no capital. That's what I was saying. This money Museveni is distributing around, why don't you put it in a circle and help? Ugandans want to work. I don't believe that Ugandans are lazy, but I know what it means to wake up early in the morning and you yawn and think of what to do and you don't even have it. So you have to stay in your bed. So Ugandans are very productive. Why don't you put this money in a circle and let Ugandans either borrow it at 1% if you really want to give it out. Borrow it at 1%, bring it back so that it can benefit someone else. But for you to waste, and I saw, when you go back to the issue of the promoters, I saw the lady who fainted at the Uganda police headquarters. She said she lost 50 million. She was given 10 million. Right. And these basically Benon Chibuka, who was not even involved, who never made any loss, and some other gentleman had walked away with most of the money. So you wonder, if you have the biggest population in the world with the most unproductive people because they don't work, who is going to pay those debts? You're going to find Uganda is going to be called Ching Ching tomorrow.
All right, that's what I was saying, because she has given us very strong points. Right. We're talking about also the borrowing, because right now, if you look at our borrowing rates, the interest rates from the banks, they are so high. Because look at a bank like DFCU, it's over 25%.
Right.
So that's not good for business. If at all you want to cut costs. And again, look at also countries like China, because they're telling you that their interest rate is less than 1%. So in the international business environment, how are you going to compete with countries like China if at all their interest rate is less than 1% and for you over 20%?
All right.
That's not good for business. So it scares away potential foreign investment.
All right, thank you so much.
I think we have to always, as Ugandans, continue speaking up and until we get this government of Mr. Museveni out of office or out of power, because they've run out of ideas. We can't take our country forward. So as the young generation, whenever you get any chance, speak up. No one should intimidate you. Right now, right now, our voices have made sure that Emilian Kaima, the former spokesperson of police, is being demoted. So let's wait for the new spokesperson of police. What's his name?
Fred Enanga.
Enanga. So yes, Enanga, just be careful, because you just know that whatever happened
the biggest thing that will ever happen to Ugandans is not even these police officers, is having Seven either retire to Rachitula or go or leave the presidency. That will be there, because I keep telling people that you have Museveni go, all his entire lot will go. No one is going to stay in government steady.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys. Thank you people who have been watching us live on Facebook and other social platforms. We want to welcome you again next Saturday. Be part of the show. Send us your comments. This show is going to be put on YouTube, so if you get a chance, go on Campfire TV Boston on YouTube, subscribe, click on the bell, and be sure that you will be part of the discussions that we always have here. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep sending messages. And just as a Mr. said, Pew, Sarah has said, Cheng Cheng. Have a good time and nice week. Bye.
Cheng Cheng.